Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When a conditioned soul is seriously anxious to get out of the influence of the material clutches, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated within him as Paramatma, gives him this knowledge. Surrender unto me. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, give up all other engagements, just surrender unto me. It is to be accepted that the source of knowledge is the Supreme Person. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mattas Vritit Jnanam Apohanam Cha. The Lord says, through me one gets real knowledge and memory, and one also forgets through me. To one who wants to be materially satisfied or who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord gives the opportunity to forget his service and engage in the so-called happiness of material activities. Similarly, when one is frustrated in lording it over material nature and is very serious about getting out of this material entanglement, the Lord from within gives him the knowledge that he has to surrender unto him. Then there is liberation. This knowledge cannot be imparted by anyone other than the Supreme Lord or his representative. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya instructs Rupa Goswami that the living entities wander in life after life, undergoing the miserable conditions of material existence. But when one is very anxious to get free from the material entanglement, then he gets enlightenment through a spiritual master and Krishna. This means that Krishna as the super soul is seated within the heart of the living entity, and when the living entity is serious, the Lord directs him to take shelter of his representative, the bona fide spiritual master. Directed from within and guided externally by the spiritual master, one attains the path of Krishna consciousness, which is the way out of the material clutches. Therefore, there is no possibility of one's being situated in his own position unless he is blessed by the Supreme Personality of God. Unless he is enlightened with the supreme knowledge, one has to undergo the severe penalties of the hard struggle for existence in the material nature. The spiritual master is therefore the mercy manifestation of the Supreme Person. The conditioned soul has to take direct instruction from the spiritual master, and thus he gradually becomes enlightened to the path of Krishna consciousness. The seed of Krishna consciousness is sown within the heart of the conditioned soul, and when one hears instruction from the spiritual master, the seed fructifies and his life is blessed. Thus ends the Bhakti-Granth. Om Jnana-Tinyanasya Jnana-Janasakaya Chakshur-Vilitam-Dena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu-Padaya Krishna-Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami-Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashade Ishtarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. These are prayers offered by the human soul who is fortunate to be able to remember his past 100 births, and as a result he realizes that I'm suffering now, But I have been suffering like this for many, many lifetimes. So, on my own, it is not possible for me to get out of this suffering. When we are put in a situation of suffering, we use our intelligence or take help and try to get out of the situation. But what we are unable to realize is that again and again we are being put into some misery. And every time we think, now let me get out of the situation and then all my problems will solve. Why is this happening? Because of forgetfulness. You just look back in your own life. Can you exactly remember all the difficult, troublesome, miserable situations you have gone through since your childhood? Most of the situations you forget. Maybe something which is difficult to forget because it was very, very bad, maybe you remember. But even that most miserable situation, you can't give me details now if I ask you. And also, the psychology is better forget. Why remember that and, suffer more? भूल जाना अच्छा है ना? But the difficulty with this forgetting the past, as far as miserable conditions are concerned, is that we are not realizing the essence of this material existence is miserable life. That we not realize. Dukkhalayam. This material existence is full of misery. And I am such a donkey. I am thinking, oh no, it is not very bad. We can also enjoy. We can make adjustment and avoid misery. And the fruitive activities that we perform confirms this. Just like somebody might have been having a small house or living in a rented house, and then works very hard, earns money, and then gets a nice house, either rent or own. Beautiful house, big house, nice facilities. Like this, every pious fruitive activity that improves our material condition gives us hope. This way I can solve all my past problems, which is very misleading. Very misleading. Just think it over. The real problems, the fundamental problems remain. Even though some incidental details of some fundamental problem, they come and go. What does it mean? Just like disease is there, but some particular disease was there, now it is not there. But the nature of the body to become diseased, has that changed? Just because, let's say I had some typhoid, last year I had typhoid. So then I got cured by some treatment. But does it mean I will never again become diseased? No. It's the nature of this body to become diseased. Characteristic of the body. Similarly, death is a serious problem. Now, because this human soul is reminded of past 100 births, it's able to realize I have been dying again and again and again and again every lifetime. Similarly, the problems of birth. Just like now the human child a soul is suffering in the mother's womb. Every time I have to take birth, I am put in a mother's womb and I have to suffer like this. So that is the soul is reminded, past 100 births, every birth contains the same suffering. Where is the solution? Where is the real solution? Think about it. When Bhagavad Gita says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosham Darshanam, 4 fundamental miseries always are there. Now these 4 miseries is common for rich and poor. For Indians and Americans. Why Indians and Americans? For those in heavenly planets, those in hellish conditions, those on the earth planet, everybody is common. Because throughout material universe, though there are different planets, relatively different facilities, different types of bodies, but every body is subject to disease. There is a very interesting description in the Bhagavatam that we read, if we study the scriptures, that the facilities for material enjoyment are much, millions of times more in the heavenly planets. Among the Devatas, they have a much longer duration of life than human beings on the earth. They are more intelligent. They have much more beautiful bodily features. They have a lot more wealth than what we have on the earth. Like that. So, one thinks that that may be the perfection to take birth as a Devata or take birth on heavenly planets. That is what the Karma Kanda is all about. Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. But Bhagavatam says that the Devatas also have a doctor. Why do they require a doctor unless they become sick or diseased? So who are the doctors of the Devatas? Ashwini Kumaras. I mentioned this point earlier. So now the Ashwini Kumaras are very good doctors. Generally they are able to cure the sickness or the disease of the Devatas. But the Ashwini Kumaras themselves, they also sometimes become sick, become diseased. Disease is a fundamental problem with material existence. Disease is a fundamental problem. Death is a fundamental problem. Even Brahma has to die, what to speak of others. Brahma is also afraid of death. See, for Brahma, when death comes, what is the situation? When does Brahma face death? Pralaya. Pralaya is very, 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 very dangerous. If you read in the Bhagavad, what happens in time of Pralaya? The sun will increase its sunshine, the rays in intensity, hundreds of times more intense than the most scorching summer. So what will people feel like? They will be burnt away. Some places in this earth itself, where the temperature goes to 49 degrees centigrade. Why 49? Even 42, 43, 44 becomes so unbearable, isn't it? So if this sunshine, 100 times more hotter than the hottest summer, what will be the position of the living beings? And then the sun will obviously evaporate all the water, oceans will become dry. Then what do people expect after summer? There is going to be rainy season. Sun will evaporate the water normally, not pralaya time, other times. Evaporate the water and it will give back that water in form of rain. But at the time of pralaya, the sun will not give any rain. Will not give any rain. Imagine what the condition. Everybody is finished. Even Brahma, he also becomes very fearful. Of course, Brahma is an enlightened person. He knows now is the time for ultimate destruction of the entire universe itself. Because during partial destruction, the upper four planetary systems are not destroyed. Maharloka, Chandraloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka, because they are all serious about self-realization. They are not busy with sense gratification, with material enjoyment, no. So, they are undisturbed. But even they, during the night of Brahma, they have to enter the body of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. All the lower planets, middle and lower planets, everything is submerged in the water of devastation. So all the living beings who died at the time of this partial devastation, partial destruction of the universe, they enter the body of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. But even the inhabitants of the upper four planetary systems, including Brahma, they also enter into Garbhodakashayi Vishnu's body. For what? For sleeping. For sleeping. Because this sleep is not going to be the sleep like the normally sleep. This is the night of Brahma. The night of Brahma is 1000 Mahayugas. 1000 Mahayugas. So very long time. So that long time is not exactly sleep. They are put into ignorance in the body of the Holiness Shri Vishnu. Put into ignorance. And they just lie there dormant till again when the day of Brahma begins. Till then, the just lying there. So, these four fundamental problems, who can realize are fundamental problems of material existence, and it is repeating life after life after life. It is never going to stop in material existence. It's never going to stop. So here it is said that we require knowledge, enlightenment about our actual situation. So who can give that knowledge? Who can give that enlightenment? Not anyone who is a conditioned soul in this material world. Because the knowledge of the conditioned soul is all relative knowledge. How to solve some temporary problems. Permanent solution, ultimate knowledge for all problems, that no conditioned soul can give you. Because they themselves do not know. Anybody having material knowledge, they do not know the four fundamental problems of material existence, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. They do not know. So this knowledge is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative, the bona fide spiritual master. Now, specifically, the Supreme Lord in his form as Paramatma gives the knowledge. That is explained by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham buddhi sannivishto mattas smriti jnanam apom. The Supreme Lord Krishna is seated in our heart as Paramatma. And this Paramatma is described here as the partial representation of the Lord. Anuvartita Amsha. The Supreme Lord as Paramatma is seated in our heart, and he is the partial representation. That means he does not, partial representation means he does not display the full power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this Paramatma, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he only gives us knowledge, jnana. He gives us vritti, he gives us remembrance, and he also gives forgiveness. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, if it is the Lord who gives us knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness, this remembrance and forgetfulness are two opposite things. So, what remembrance will he give and what forgetfulness does he give? So that is explained here. To one who wants to be materially satisfied, or wants to lord it over material nature, those who are having plans for material enjoyment or I want to be the Lord of this material world in different positions. To such people, the Lord gives the opportunity to forget His service and engage in the so-called happiness of material activities. They become busy working for getting that better position, higher post, or better facilities for material enjoyment, according to their plan. When one is frustrated with this business of trying to become materially happy or occupying some position and in that superior position trying to be happy, when one is frustrated with that and becomes very serious to get out of this material entanglement, means sufficiently the soul who has suffered and is able to understand, I have been suffering. And not only I am suffering, but everyone in the material world is suffering. Why is it that people think that I can improve my situation if I occupy a better position or a better facility? Because they see somebody else having better facility and oh, they are enjoying, I am not enjoying. Somebody in a higher position is having more facilities, I am not having those many facilities. So which means that I will try to occupy that post or that position, or I try to get that facility. So this goes on. But at some time, even in a very good position, top position, or even having lot of facilities, if one undergoes some suffering, it is bound to happen. In all positions, all types of facilities, in spite of that, there is suffering. So then, a person may realize that actually I have to get out of this material existence. Nowhere in material existence there is real happiness, there is no real freedom from material suffering. So one becomes serious about getting out of this material existence. It is said in the scriptures that by one's own intelligence, by personal experience, it's not possible to come to this decision that I will get out of material existence. It's only in the association of wise people, saintly persons, sadhu sangha. Only in sadhu sangha one is able to understand this actual situation. That's why anybody fortunate to get this sadhu sangha and realize this actual position of the living being in the material world is considered very, very fortunate. So, most fortunate. And then, in that association, one is also able to understand what is the way to get out. What is the solution for this problem of material suffering, repeated birth and death, or repeated suffering? So that is explained here, that the Supreme Lord from within, when somebody becomes serious, then the Supreme Lord from within gives him the knowledge that he has to surrender unto the Lord. Then only there is possibility of liberation. Even if one may know that I have to get out of this material world, being under the influence of Maya, one may think that I will try on my own to get out. I will cultivate knowledge, or I will do meditation and get some mystic power by which I can get out of this material existence. Either by knowledge, or by meditation, or by doing lots of pious activities, I will elevate myself higher, higher, higher till I go to the highest position of Brahmaloka. In Brahmaloka also, there is a possibility of liberation from this material existence. If one remains in Brahmaloka till the end of Brahma's lifetime. Now, what is the nature of life in the material world? One can remain in a particular position only if one has sufficient pious credits, especially the upper planetary systems. The position in the upper planetary systems is based on punya. If sufficient punya is there, then one can remain there. If punya reduces, then one has to come down. This also Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita. Shine punye martyalokam vishanti. Martyaloka is this earthly planetary system. So, even in Brahmaloka, keep on doing pious activities. Keep on doing pious activities. Any mistake, any papa, immediately fall down. In all the upper planets, this is true, not in Brahmaloka, including Brahmaloka. Everywhere in the upper planets, one has to keep on doing pious activity, pious activity, pious activity. And then maintain one's position. So, this is the nature of material existence. And even at the end of Brahma's life, all those in Brahmaloka get an opportunity to go with Brahma to the spiritual sky. But in the spiritual sky, if they have not cultivated devotional service, they have no entry into the spiritual planets. That is also revealed in the Bhagavad. That is revealed in the Bhagavad. Third canto. In an earlier chapter, in this canto, is revealed that all those in Brahmaloka at the time of complete destruction of the entire universe, end of Brahma's life, they go to the spiritual sky, they elevate themselves. But they can't remain there if they are not devotees. The spiritual planets is only for devotees. Which means that one has to become a devotee before one can actually enter into the spiritual world, the spiritual planets, Vaikuntha Loka, for eternal life, full of bliss and knowledge. Now, this entering into the spiritual world doesn't have to wait for end of Brahma's life. That's what Krishna reveals in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, at any time, in any condition, if one becomes a devotee of Krishna, then end of that particular life in that particular body, one can straight go to Krishna's abode. This is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, this becoming a devotee involves surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Now this surrender unto the Supreme Lord, this knowledge is given by the Supreme Lord when we become serious about liberation and also understand I cannot become liberated on my own, by my own efforts, not possible. That wisdom is also. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in his teachings to Rupa Goswami, that living entities are wandering in this universe in different bodies, in different planets, but some fortunate, Brahmande Brahmide Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, some fortunate living being, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the bona fide spiritual master who represents Krishna and Krishna himself. By their combined mercy, one is able to get that seed of bhakti, bhakti lata. So, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is explained that at the time of initiation by the bona fide spiritual master, one gets that seed of devotional service, bhakti lata. The Guru, bona fide spiritual master, representative of Krishna, pure devotee spiritual master, he sows the seed of pure devotional service in the heart of a conditioned soul at the time of Diksha. Then the seed has to actually sprout and the creeper of devotion has to grow. And when it grows and matures, it yields the fruit of Krishna Prema. So here Prabhupada says, the seed of Krishna consciousness is sown within the heart of the conditioned soul by the spiritual master at the time of initiation. And when one hears instruction from the spiritual master and follows instructions, you have to hear from the spiritual master and follow those instructions. Receive the instruction and follow them. Then the seed fructifies. Just taking Diksha is not enough. So this is the whole process of actual liberation from material body, complete liberation until liberation. So the Lord has to direct, because it's He only who gives all knowledge, not just this knowledge about surrender, about spiritual existence, spiritual life. No. Even material knowledge is given only by the Super Soul. So why does He give material knowledge to some and spiritual knowledge to others? It depends on what one's interest is. If you are materially interested, He will give you material knowledge. If you are spiritually inclined, spiritually interested, He will give you spiritual knowledge. The Lord is impartial. So, we can't expect to get the proper knowledge, the proper direction from the Lord, the proper remembrance, unless we become seriously interested in ultimate liberation from this material life. If we maintain material attachment, if we maintain material interest, if we have hope that I can improve my material situation, thereby become happy in this world, then there is no possibility of liberation. This is true even for our trying to improve our japa. When does our japa become better quality japa? When we become serious about spiritual life. Then we avoid all distractions and we are able to try to focus nicely. So becoming serious about spiritual life. We have all taken up this spiritual path very seriously, dedicating our life. These full-time missionaries are definitely expressing their seriousness by dedicating their life for the Krishna conscious movement. But after having dedicated one's life, officially being a devotee is not going to help. Officially being a devotee, we have to become serious about the practice of following, receiving the instructions of the spiritual master and following very nicely. Until then, there is no actual progress. There is no progress. Simply, number of years we keep counting and think I am a senior devotee. But that is just external. Inside the heart, the complete purification has to take place. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains the complete process of devotional service, development of this complete, starting with the spiritual master sowing the seed at the time of initiation, working these things. Okay, let's stop here. Vrindavan Srimad Bhagavatam ki jaya, Prabhupada.